Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 135, titled Survive and Advance. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Shortly, we're going to have Arda Ocal, our good friend of the podcast of ESPN, coming on in about a couple minutes. Nick, how'd you get this guess? I've watched his career. It has taken off. Taken off big time.
Arda Ocal, he's the hardest man in what are you going to call him? The hardest man at ESPN? Hardest working
the hardest
man at ESPN?
working, no, we have to say the hardest working person at ESPN. Because
hardest working person at ESPN.
Because that's greater numbers. You're including the entire organization,
the entire staff,
corporation.
Hardest working person at ESPN. Yeah, he's everywhere. He's, especially for hockey, he's been such a light, and it's great because he was there and he was covering esports. He was doing a good job, but I'll be honest, I have a very limited scope when it comes to esports and my interest in esports and what he can do with esports that would get me excited. But seeing him on the point and seeing him do all the stuff with hockey, and he was working the Devils game last night. A little blast from the past. It's been a while since his days of MSG and his days of working for the team, and he did a good job. There was a couple of people who were a little critical of the ESPN broadcast, but give it some time. I didn't mind it. It didn't seem that bad. I also didn't watch the second half of the game. As most people know, I work a overnight job, and I could have been distracted and put myself behind by watching the game, but I chose to not get distracted and stressed out by my life and watch my team put in no effort. So that was that.
Oh, very nice. Well, Nick, why don't you talk to social media? I got to get the busy man himself, Arda Ocal, on so we can talk some puck.
Okie doke. So last night stunk. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was what was even worse is that not only did you stink, but you lost Dougie Hamilton, which is like the saving grace of the season so far. He's been one of the best defensemen in the league. He's worth everything. He's worth all of the money. And now he's out. The power play is abjectly terrible. It is very bad. The only reason why their penalty kill isn't one of the worst in the league is that this is one of the worst years for penalty kill ever. If the season ended today, I think there's 5 teams who would break a record for worst penalty kill or something close to that. There's 5 teams who would be in the bottom 15 penalty kills of all time. So, in a bad year for penalty kills, the Devils can't score on the power play. So that kind of tells you what we're dealing with right now. The Devils just there's so much that needs to fix. It looks bad. It's one thing to look at it and be like, oh, that percentage is pretty bad. And it's like, well, it's, a little bit of luck, a little bit. No, it's stinky. It's bad. So that's something that I'm just not. Brian Marcel says, how long is Hamilton out? Come on, it's a Devils injury. They didn't tell me. They didn't tell anybody how long the Devils player is out. But when you add I'm not expecting Jack Hughes back until December 15th to 20th. That's what I'm thinking, between conditioning stints and, evaluations and all that. That's when I'm expecting Jack Hughes back, somewhere right before Christmas time. Hamilton, I'm hoping it's not that big of a deal, but we'll see. Sam, I see you're back.
I'm back with the hardest working person at ESPN. You may have remembered him on MSG Networks and with the Devils. His name is Arda Ocal. You can find him on Twitter at Arda. Arda, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you, my friend?
Well, first of all, it's great to be back. So thanks for inviting me back on the show. I owe you some sort of, I don't know, a beer or dinner or something for that introduction. I don't know how I could claim to be the hardest working man at ESPN after only a couple of years, but you know what? I'll take it. You're right, Sam. I am. I'm just gonna run with it. I'm gonna print T-shirts, and
We're gonna
I'm
get you some business cards.
Yeah, we're gonna get. Actually, that's even better. It just says my name and hardest working man at ESPN. Exactly.
And just like your Twitter account, it's just gonna say Arda. It's gonna say Arda, hardest working person at ESPN, and just hand them out.
Right. And then it just just total humble brags where I'm like, oh boy, just got done with my 23rd hour of work. Look at me.
Yeah, exactly.
4 characters, Arda, on Twitter. 4 characters. I really admire that. And also, just remember, you are an old friend of the podcast because you were one of our first guests we ever asked to come on to the podcast about a few years ago. And thank you for remembering the little guys, as you're at ESPN right now. Much appreciated.
Why would you ever subject your podcast to me as one of your first guests? Like, aim higher than that. Come on.
Well, so, we knew you were going to become a big star, and then we could go in the archives and be like, see, stamp of approval. And then we could kind of...
I know what it was. Marty wasn't available, so you go to Arda next. I get it.
Yeah. Just like in net. When Marty's not available, you go to Arda, right?
Naturally. There would have been 4 or 5 cups if that were the case.
Absolutely.
I can sit on the bench I can play 5 games a season and sit on the bench for like 75. That's no problem.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the easiest Stanley Cup ring you'll ever win. So how did last night feel? Did last night feel kind of surreal to you? I believe it was the first time you were covering a Devils game since your days when you were covering them every night. What did that feel like?
It was awesome, actually. I think the last time I was on the podcast, I told the story about how I almost became the host of the Devils on MSG, and that was one of the worst days of my career. It was just such a downer that I didn't get that gig, and so after digging out of that and making my way to ESPN, and it's almost like the culmination of all of that hard work. It kind of paid off in the sense that now I get to have the opportunity to host a national game like that. That game was exclusive to ESPN Plus, so to be able to host that was just like, this is awesome. And obviously the team has a lot of familiarity to me because I worked on those broadcasts and I worked with the team for so many years, and so it was just it was really cool. We've done a few games now with the the launch of this season and the NHL on ESPN back again. I've done a few games now, but this one was special just because I have history with the team and I still have a lot of friends there. And actually, funny enough, I saw that organist Pete liked the tweet that you guys sent out, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, so I just DM'd him and I was like, hey man, I haven't talked to you in a bit, good seeing you, man. And I reminded him that one of my favorite career moments ever was the Prudential Center one year. I think this was a few years ago. They had Metal Night. I forget who they were playing, but the theme, the Prudential Center was good with the theme nights. I don't like to give, in particular, a guy named Joe Cucci credit who works in their game ops. I don't like to give him credit, but I will say that he's pretty good at his job. But that's it. Do not give him any more credit on this podcast. I just want to be clear that's the only credit he will be receiving. Okay.
I will.
I say this because I worked with him extensively. But
Joe Cucci is thoroughly average. I will give him he was.
That's right.
Average.
That's right. This is where we will draw. Exactly. I kid. Of course, I worked with him for a very long time. So as part of Metal Night, Pete let me come up to 125 and let me stand beside him with my bass guitar, and we just played tunes all night. So I was basically part of his entourage in his band, playing songs in between whistles and during intermission. And I was like, this is the greatest night ever. So we were playing Metallica songs and we were playing other metal bands. And I'm like, I think that I have peaked in my career at this exact moment. I can't go any higher than this. Basically, I can say, I'll fudge it a little bit and be like, hey, I played in front of tens of thousands of people. And that's not incorrect. There was maybe 13, 14,000 people there. I played in front of 14,000 people. I can say that now.
I saw the Who at the Prudential Center once. So you played in the same size crowd as the Who. That is something you put on your resume.
Exactly. See, now you're seeing it the way I see it. Exactly.
We'll put that on the back of your business card.
Exactly.
So ESPN, it's been a whirlwind, I'm sure. It's the first month of the season for y'all, the first month of the coverage. Everybody's kind of like getting their feet under them. I remember I did my first play-by-play game for WVU hockey when I was doing play-by-play for them, and it went so abjectly terrible. I didn't know anybody's name. I tried. I was calling people by the wrong name. It's out there somewhere, and I hope that nobody ever listens to it because it was a disaster. But it's been a lot of working through. Hockey is definitely the hardest. I've done a lot of play-by-play in my career, and hockey is the hardest by far. It's so fast. You're trying to figure out in a millisecond what people need to hear and what they care about. But ESPN has been working through those kinks, and I think they've done a good job with a lot of things. They found a couple gems. I love Weeksy. Weeksy is just awesome at what he's doing, and the Ken Danico impression last night during the middle of the broadcast for him to just think of that. And he's breaking news. He's breaking the Jack Eichel proposal today in Calgary. He's just another guy who's just killing ESPN. But I want to talk about this show that you're on, The Point. It's like a little bit of magic. Like you found something here. Like Torts is on it a lot. Wyshynski's on it sometimes. Like you're on it sometimes, and it just seems like every time you put the personalities on it, it just kind of meshes. What's working on that show?
Well, I think that when I look at the content that has been created for hockey at the national level, I think that this is the kind of show that hockey fans have been waiting for and they've been clamoring for. And ESPN has done a fantastic job at putting together something that hockey fans can really bite into. And the show, I filled in, like I basically fill in as needed on that show. And there are a lot of contributors to it. It's hosted by John Butcher-Gross and, people like Emily Kaplan, like you said, John Tortorella and Greg Wyshynski. Barry Melrose has been on it. Just a revolving door of analysts in our roster for the NHL and ESPN contribute to the show, depending on subject matter and depending on what is being focused on, et cetera. And it's like a good hodgepodge of different types of stories. There's humor, there's very serious subjects as well, obviously, with everything that's happening with the Blackhawks and Kyle Beach, et cetera. Like, we dive into those stories on The Point. And we also make sure that the number one concern is, will hockey fans be informed? Will hockey fans enjoy it? Will hockey fans have fun watching it? Will hockey fans be better off watching it? And that's really, to me anyway, especially as I'm preparing for game broadcasts and even In the Crease, which is our, like, basically, it's sort of like Hockey Center, really. It's basically like highlights of every game, a little bit of analysis here, and that's on ESPN Plus every night. Like, I try to make sure when I'm preparing that the number one thing is that the hockey fan will care about this. Like, we're talking about things that hockey fans care about and want to hear about. Hockey fans will be informed, they'll be entertained, and they will leave essentially saying, yeah, this is somewhere that will become destination for me. I need to continue to watch this because I got all of those things that I just mentioned, or at least some of that on any given night. So yeah, look, we have a lot of people that care a lot about hockey, and the thing is, it's funny, like I've gotten this a lot from people. It's almost like, oh, wow, like it's so cool that, ESPN cares about hockey. It's not that, like, there are so many people on campus that love hockey. That never left. It's just the rights weren't there. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like hockey left the campus. The spirit of hockey was always there. There are some passionate hockey fans on campus and in abundance. And it's like those conversations were happening in the halls, and they were happening in the green rooms and whatever. And even last Stanley Cup, like I was sitting in a green room with Steve Levy and Barry Melrose and like, I don't know, maybe like 15 other people. And we were just hanging out, eating pizza, watching the Stanley Cup Finals because we just love hockey. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, we're just talking about like that kind of thing happened all the time at ESPN because there's a lot of hockey fans that are passionate about it. And now we just get to talk about it more on a bigger stage, which is amazing. So yeah, like, I mean, look, the first couple months has been an app, like, I mean, we're coming up to about a month now, but like, it's been a whirlwind. It's been amazing. It's been a rush. And for me personally, like for my career, it's been very fulfilling. Like, this is exactly what I want to be doing. And I gotta tell you, man, like doing the game broadcasts and everything else that's going on, it's been an absolute joy. Like, I have zero complaints. It's been amazing.
Oh yeah, and we're, you know, me and Sam were talking about it before the podcast. So we're just so happy for you, just watching. I remember you on WWE, and you know, to see your progression and you know, to get these so many eclectic opportunities, and for you to be a comedian like this, and then to finally, like, you know, I loved you on MSG, and you know, you've been doing great with the esports stuff, but I feel like you're hitting your stride right now.
I appreciate that. I mean, look, I grew up loving hockey. Hockey's my first love, my number one sport. I don't hide that. In fact, to be honest with you, I would guess one of the reasons why I'm so involved with hockey at ESPN is because I made that abundantly clear. Like, I just love hockey, and I told them, like, I would want hockey to be a significant part of my job for the rest of my career because it's just so much fun and I enjoy it very much. And so no complaints here. And, you know, to be able to like revisit, you know, teams that I worked with in like the Devils is a perfect example. Like, I have more Devils games coming in November, which I'm super excited about because there'll be opportunities to talk about different things. And the key for me is, so if I have, like, let's say, for example, this Friday, I'll have another Devils game. So I'm doing the game on Friday. It's Devils and Kings, right? So now I'm starting to think about, as I prepare for that game, like, okay, what can I talk about and what is interesting to Kings fans and Devils fans such that we can give them some value add, because there will be a lot of fans of those teams tuning in, right? So I want to make sure, in thinking about what I'm asking, et cetera. Like, that's why I focused, for example, a lot in the Tuesday game on that second line, because like that's a really big topic of conversation. And I thought it would be interesting for Devils fans to hear the perspective of our analysts on how Dawson Mercer is doing and whether he does belong in the Calder Trophy conversation right now, as Devil fans have been saying on Twitter, right? So like, that's why I ask those questions, because I'm looking around, I'm seeing what the chatter is about, but then I want to mold it into, okay, how does this become an interesting conversation involving our experts? Because at the end of the day, we want to hear from them and we want to hear what they have to say. And so I thought that was a really good segment, because we got some really interesting stuff from both Kevin and from Ryan Callahan about that line and why they were like, there was that one sequence in the first period where I think they had like 3 takeaways in the Ducks zone, and like they just couldn't score because John Gibson is just like standing on his head at parts of the game, right? But like, that was amazing. Like they were just like, they come out of the gates roaring. That line is incredible.
Yeah, no, that line has definitely been one of the few bright spots. But unfortunately, there were basically no bright spots yesterday. So I'm sorry you had to watch that kind of hockey from the Devils. But before we let you go, I know you're very busy.
You know that I was with the team for several years, right? Like, it's not like I haven't seen non-bright spots with the team. I'm just to be clear. And I'm not saying that as a dig to the Devils. I was there when Taylor Hall literally dragged the team to the playoffs. Like, I was there during that entire run. So
that was fun, but there hasn't been a lot of fun outside of that for the past decade.
Yeah, fair enough.
But before I let you go, I do want to kind of get your analysis of the team. Again, last night was probably a bad example. They lost Dougie Hamilton. Is this what you think they're going to play like without Dougie Hamilton if he is out for an extended period of time? Or what do you think that this team – basically, I want to know, the name of our podcast today is Survive and Advance. Can this team survive with no Jack Hughes, no Dougie Hamilton, and a few other injuries sprinkled in?
So the thing that I looked at when I was doing like preseason predictions and just outlooks for teams, I thought on paper the Devils had a really good chance to be a competitive team for a wild card spot. I thought the Metropolitan in general was going to be a giant dumpster fire mess because there were so many teams that were on the bubble. Like, it just felt like there would be like 5 or 6 teams just fighting for a wild card spot in that division. And I thought that people weren't giving the Devils enough credit. But then the one thing was that there had to be some pieces that exceeded previous seasons, but also met the expectations that were placed upon them by the hockey world or Devils fans. Jack Hughes being the biggest one. Didn't have the best season last year. Looked really comfortable in the games that he played in this season so far. Obviously, injuries happen. Obviously, we can't get around that. But let me tell you, watching him play, like, he was making some plays like a savvy veteran out there, and did he have some poise with the puck. So I am really excited to see him come back because I think that he's going to hopefully reclaim that form, and that would be a massive positive for the Devils. Dougie Hamilton, obviously a big loss. What I liked about him was that, and you mentioned Wyshynski, like, he wrote an article about this coming into the game yesterday about how he didn't feel like he was wanted in near the end of his tenure with Carolina, and the Devils wanted him there. You know, and you and I both, the three of us, we all know this. Like, sometimes, and don't rag on me, Devils fans, because we all know this to be true. Sometimes some athletes don't necessarily see teams at the tier of the Devils as a destination team, right? Like, sometimes people have like grand visions in their heads where they want to go to, you know, an original 6 team, or they want to go to a giant hockey market team. Now, what I will say is there are players beyond that want to feel wanted. And the Devils made Dougie Hamilton feel like, yes, you will be an integral part of this team. We want you here. And that is very important to someone like Dougie Hamilton. So I feel like hopefully the injury is not too long. He can come back and contribute the way he has been. And also a guy like Tomas Tatar. Now, that first line, I feel like they can get even better with a little bit more chemistry. Tatar's a guy who, he has something to prove. Like, he has this tendency to underperform in big moments, particularly the postseason. And he's got a chip on his shoulder because he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs last season, and his team went to the Stanley Cup final. So, like, I feel like there's a lot of, like, a retribution kind of thing with many players on this team. And I feel like that second line is clicking really well. Even Jimmy Vesey, a guy that's been bounced around on a few teams, finally finding his footing with the Devils. And there's some really good prospects in the AHL that are coming up. Holtz is a name that people are waiting to see and thought, you know what, this guy could play, like, fill that gap that Jack Hughes currently we don't have on this team. So I'm telling you, like, I look at this and I'm like, there are some really good, this team clicks, get some expected numbers from key players. And I really still think that the entire season is not lost and it's already a wash, as I've already seen people tweet on Twitter. It's like, all right, just blow up the team, start the next season. Like, I've already seen that. Yeah, cancel the season, it's over. Like, I've already seen that.
Art, before I let you go, just, you know, you're working the Devils game on Friday. Where else can people see you this week? What do you got cooking?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, first of all. I really appreciate being on. Call me anytime. Always happy to jump on. You can follow me on Twitter at Arda, at ARDA. Basically, In the Crease happens basically In the Crease is on every night. There's an NHL show that's on ESPN Plus. It's an NHL recap show. So if you want to get caught up super fast on all the games, watch the highlights, trim the fat, just give me what I need to know. That's In the Crease on E+. The Point obviously happens every Thursday on ESPN2 and then also on ESPN Plus. And then the 75 exclusive games to E+, like the Devils on Friday, and plenty more Devils games this month, which I believe I have some, if not most of them. So unfortunately, nice. Devils fans, you'll be seeing me a lot.
I think no. Honestly, I haven't seen one bad thing said about Arda. So I think people are happy to see you again.
Nice.
People are happy to have you back. But
So
Arda Ocal,
that's about it. Yeah.
I know you got commitments with others because we had to fit ourselves very tightly in your schedule of people are pulling in all different kinds of directions. So I really appreciate you spending some time with us and fitting us in. Thank you so much, Arda.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'll be back.
Thanks, Arda. That is Arda Ocal of ESPN, old friend of the podcast, coming on. And I was going to just invite him, Nick, to Taj Lounge 973 if he's doing Devils games.
Yeah,
I was going to feed him some catfish. Yeah.
Isn't the new thing lobster? Isn't it the new thing?
Oh, yeah, the lobster. Oh, yeah. Arda, if you're listening in, I got lobster tails and catfish at Taj Lounge 973 for Game Day Live. And if you can't make it for pregame, Arda, we've got Devils After Dark, our podcast, live podcast post-game show. You know, our version. You got to come over, Arda.
So if he's the hardest working man at the worldwide leader in sports, does that make him the president?
No, Arda works harder than the president of ESPN.
I bet you we'd all like the paycheck of the president of the ESPN. I bet you we'd all like that.
Certainly.
I don't even know who I still think the last president of ESPN I remember is John Skipper. I can't tell you who's been the president since then. So I'm not very savvy on presidents of networks. I guess I probably should be, but I remember seeing the other day that Bob Iger stepped down from Disney. I was like, I don't know who runs anything anymore. Didn't what's his name? Didn't Bezos step down from Amazon?
Yeah, man, I think he stepped on for monopoly reasons.
It's like, none of these things actually happen. It's like Dan Snyder giving the team to his wife. Like, you didn't actually give the team to anybody. Like, you're still here all the time. And anyway, we're getting in the weeds. All right, so Sam, I did write an article today. First of all, I didn't realize that they put Scott Wedgwood on waivers, so that's something we have to check out for. I don't think anybody's gonna claim him. He wasn't very good when he was in. He was on people were upset with how he played. Guys, he's the third goalie. Like, it stinks that we're in a position that he had to play, but he was never supposed to be any more than an AHL guy who can step in the worst possible scenario. Unfortunately, the worst possible scenario happened week 1. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it is what it is. Only allowing 3 goals, I was fine with it. The Devils should be able to score 3 goals. Unfortunately, they're just not right now. There's so much bad to talk about, Sam. Here's the thing. The Devils fan base was pretty negative after that first loss to Washington, after how they looked. Now that they've lost, they've lost to the Ducks. They've lost to Calgary. They haven't looked very good, just in general. I don't have much positive to say. This Dougie thing hurts. I need Dougie Hamilton to not be out for a long time, because learning that we learned this week that Miles Woodman's from bumps and bruises to probably out until next year, which I don't know how that happened. We learned that
no idea.
Obviously, we learned last week that Jack Hughes is out at least until the middle of December. At least the least possible one is beginning of December, but realistically, it's the middle of December. Thank goodness Mackenzie Blackwood dressed last night. He's dressed. He's vaccinated. There's no issues with what's going to happen to him. So we're in good shape there. But I don't know what's good about this team. Dawson Mercer. Like, that's it. We got one guy, and like Jesper Bratt and Dawson Mercer were terrible last night. Like, all the advanced statistics showed that, like Arda said, they look good in every game because they'll have shifts that are just domination, but their overall numbers were pretty bad. I think everybody's numbers just kind of went in the tank at the second half of that game, which is a problem. This Devils team does not come back. You know what I mean? Like they just fall in a hole and they can't get out of it. Do you notice that, Sam, or is that just me?
I think right now everything boils down to one thing, maybe two things, but let's make it one thing. It's their special teams. They can play awesome. They could be the best 5-on-5 team right now. And there's been chatter about bringing up Holtz. I say no, don't bring up Holtz right now. I'll tell you the reason why. It's because he's learning how to win, and he's having so much success down in the AHL that if you bring Alexander Holtz up here, what is he going to run into? Yeah, he'll score some goals. He'll look exciting.
Yes, but I need him to score goals.
But as Alexander Holtz scores 4 goals, the Devils give up 5 power play goals. What does that do?
That gives him 4 goals.
I understand that, but right now, I don't think the Devils are ready for Alexander Holtz yet. That's all I'm saying. And I know that makes no sense whatsoever, but you know what? Kevin Dineen is breeding winners right now. They are winning. They are exciting. And I want that to be in their heads and learn how to win. And, right now the Devils are struggling. Anytime, yesterday, you're down 3-0. You get this glorious opportunity at least to put one in past Gibson. And what do? They give up a shorthanded goal. You can't have that. You can't. I don't care how great of your players you have out there, the talent, yada, 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 yada. Not one person is going to solve the Devils' main problem. It has to be a team effort, a collective effort, because you know what, Nick? This team wins when they do well on the PK. It just boils down to that now. Without it, they've just been horrible. And I just don't see. I saw only one game where the other team went 0-for-5. Was it Pittsburgh? I think it was Pittsburgh, right? In Pittsburgh, they went 0-for-5 on the power play. And guess who won that game? The Devils did. Yeah. And then, that's all I'm saying.
It wasn't, and that's the thing, is like the first week of the season, it wasn't a complete disaster, the special teams. The penalty kill even looked pretty good first 2 weeks. But first 2 weeks they had those back-to-back penalties that they killed. They had a 5-on-3 that they killed that looked really good.
But they're giving up game-tying goals, 6-on-4, that kind of thing. I will say that they have improved there compared to last year, but that's not saying much. And I don't want to be a negative Nancy, Nick. I'm just saying that, right now they need to find a way. They can't wait for Jack Hughes. I don't think bringing Holtz in, again, there's nothing against Holtz. I just want to see him develop some more down or up in Utica. I enjoyed seeing him ripping it up. I want him to have that confidence coming in. But he may be walking into a mess right now if you call him up. That's all.
Yeah.
Now watch Fitzgerald. Now watch him call him up tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that they're, they put Wedgwood on waivers. I'm assuming that's to bring back Blackwood. I think that's what that correlates to. Or maybe it's to call up a defenseman for Dougie. And that means that Colton White is probably coming back, so that's something. But like I said, it's hard to be too optimistic about it all, because it's just, we're in a spot where it's not great. We're not in a position where I'm happy with what the Devils are putting out there. And and that was my main thing when I talked in the preseason, is that I just want the Devils to be fun to watch. And they were fun to watch in the first period yesterday, but they were absolutely, positively not fun to watch in the second or third period. And, I know they made a comeback in that Calgary game, but it always felt like it was over. Like, it felt like it was all too little too late.
Yep.
I'm just trying. I guess the Buffalo game is where they really kind of tightened up in the second half. It's like ever since they talked about we need to stop coming out to slow starts. Now they only come out to fast starts and then slow down in the second half of the game. Like, I need them to put 60 minutes of hockey together. I know the 60 minutes moniker is usually like a football term, but I need 60 minutes of hockey. Give me 60 minutes.
I'll give you another moniker. One shift at a time. That's what they need to do. That's what they need to do. They need to find ways to win. Great teams finds ways to win even through injuries. And it's with Dougie Hamilton, going out of the game. With Jack Hughes being on, out for a while. Miles Wood, that was a mystery for a while. But
it's still a mystery. Does anybody know what happened to him? Like, what's his injury?
I don't know. Maybe he misses
exactly. Is it lower injury or is it upper body?
I don't know. I'm not going to speculate.
And that's the thing about Miles Wood, is that I keep forgetting to, like, when I write about the injuries in the articles, I forget to mention him because I forget that he's not there. Because it's like they just don't talk about him, and it's like I don't know the push forward. I wrote an article today, which is the reason for the name of our podcast, Survive and Advance, is how the Devils can survive if Dougie's out. So, like, looking at the big picture of losing Dougie and Jack Hughes, there's no doubt about it. Those are the two best players on the team now. Like, we saw they played in the beginning of the season. We saw how they played together. And that's something that's exciting. It doesn't look like anything serious for Dougie because he tried to skate on it, and he couldn't. He went back. They're working on him. I don't know if he'll be back this week or for the rest of this trip, but, hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. But there are ways that they can survive this. Use the Penguins model. They survive without Malkin and Gensel and Crosby and Letang for most of the start of the season. And they're literally surviving. And now Crosby has COVID, which is kind of a scary proposition. It doesn't look like it's spread to the team now. I would assume you'd get at least one COVID case if it was going to spread to this team, which, was the good part of the vaccinations. Last year, if this happened, you saw what happened between Buffalo and New Jersey. They played each other, and both teams, everybody got it. Now it's spread between singular locker rooms, which is what you want. So thankfully, it looks like we avoided that disaster. But in terms of just the injury disaster, I just don't know what. Like, obviously, at least with Jack Hughes, you saw what happened. He got drilled on his shoulder. But a lot of these other guys, like Severson, we never saw what was wrong with him. He came back pretty quickly, thankfully. But Ty Smith, I never really saw what happened to him, and he just doesn't look the same. He looks like he's not playing well physically. And then to overcome that, he's trying to overcompensate, but makes dumb decisions to do that. So I'm trying to figure out what the fix is with Ty Smith. That's a harder one. And then you got Igor Sharangovich, who mixes very bad luck when he does get a chance and not getting as many chances as he did last year, which is a terrible combination. He has 0 goals. Igor Sharangovich can't have 0 goals. Like, we need the Devils. Lindy Ruff, this is the thing. I'm not ready to really give up on Lindy Ruff as head coach. I think that there's parts of what he's doing that's really good. He just needs to figure out, what he's going to do about the special teams. He needs to take them over. The Recchi and Nasruddin thing is not working, and it hasn't worked for 2 years now. So he needs to take them over, or he needs to tell them to change what they're doing and figure it out. I don't think it's the players. So we've seen these players, these players have the skill set to dominate at 5v5. How are you terrible in the power play? It doesn't make sense. And when it comes to the penalty kill, I feel bad for Ryan Graves because they're really just trying to make him do it all. And Ryan Graves, surprisingly enough, Ryan Graves has been on the ice for the most goals against on the Devils, and it's not really close, Sam. He's been on the ice for 14 goals against. So he needs to clean a couple of things up when it comes to the penalty kill, but I also think they're putting him in position to fail. The other guy, I think the guy who's second on the team is Michael McLeod, which is a surprise. He's another guy who just needs to figure out what isn't working. I'm worried that maybe McLeod just doesn't work without Bastian. Because we've seen it before. We saw it in juniors without Bastian. He wasn't.
Did somebody mention that all during expansion draft talk?
I think you did say something about that, didn't you?
Yeah, but I got ridiculed for trying to put Severson, unprotected, so they won't.
Well, you had to. I think there was a way you could have done it better, where you could have, kept somebody else unprotected, or you could have sent them a draft pick to not take your stuff. But I think that the Devils need to. They just need to. If they fix their special teams and they get the expectation from their goalies, they'll be fine. Even through Jack Hughes' entire injury, they will survive that injury. They will still be in contention, so to say. I think they can go. I think they can win half their games. If 2 or 3 go to overtime and they lose, that's even better because you get a couple points out of it. If you stay, I think there's something ridiculous, 16 or 18 games in November. So let's say, you're 13, 12, and 4 or something when Jack Hughes comes back. Or no, let's say you're 16, 10, and 4, something like that. I'm just making up a something off the top of my head, but if you're 16, 10, and 4, or 14, 10, and 4, let's give them 500 on the dot. You can definitely make something happen once Hughes comes back then. But you just have to get there. You have to figure out how you can get there. And I think losing Dougie Hamilton will make it really hard to hit a number like that. And not fixing the power play. I mean, they moved Austin Mercer to the first line of the power play, so hopefully that works. But losing Hamilton means you're putting Subban on that first line, which Subban is actually third on the team in shots with 21. He has 0 goals. Not great. He has 1 high danger chance. 1 individual high danger chance. That's not great. I know defensemen don't get a ton of high danger chances, but I need Subban to get more than 1 if he's going to be third on the team in shots. And you just need I think Heischer is this close to just exploding, because a lot of his numbers show that he's getting there, and we saw it last night where he completely deked out Gibson, but Gibson just followed it perfectly. And I was astounded at Gibson playing that puck that way. And so was Nico, because he couldn't lift the puck. He was just he thought he had him. And I thought he was going to have him, and he just didn't. So there's some luck involved. There's some, facing just goaltenders just standing on their head involved, which is something you saw in Buffalo. There's a little bit of factors of luck coming in there. But I think the Devils are good enough to create their own luck, even without Hughes and even possibly Hamilton out of the lineup. The Hamilton one's going to hurt more than Hughes, I think. So we really got to see how long he's going to be out for.
Yeah, I don't know, Nick. Fridays just seems like it's too far away. I'm just hoping that the Devils come out Friday, they get a win, feel confident, go to San Jose, steal 1 there, and come back home, play the Panthers on the following Tuesday. That's what I'm hoping for. You know what? I don't dwell on losses. The next day, I get up. I think about the next game, Friday night.
The injury is just what hurts. It's that Hamilton
Yeah.
injury that really put the damper on it.
Oh, I thought Jack Hughes' injury put a damper, and I think the knockout punch was Dougie Hamilton getting hurt.
Yeah.
You know.
But Hamilton's playing like the best. Like he's been a top 5 defenseman in the league.
Yeah.
Like he just has. Like that's undisputable. Every number says that, and the eye test says it. Like he's been phenomenal. So losing him is just it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Who do you? So you have to put somebody, I guess, on the right side. Are you? What are you doing there? Are you maybe moving Ty Smith back to the right because he played right in juniors and he was really good at it? Or do you, I guess Jaros would be the next guy.
I would put in Jaros.
Yeah.
Size for size. I'm not talking about anything else, but but next man up. I mean, I'm interested to see how they perform without Dougie. Obviously, it's a big loss, but it's you can't dwell on it. You still have games to play. You can't. I mean, Tom Fitzgerald did everything he could to put this team together, but injuries happen, and that's where you see, how the teams are, what they're made of. I think there's some positives with Jack Hughes being gone. Who's emerging out of it is Dawson Mercer. The kid's just a rookie. He's just a kid, just turned 20.
Yeah.
But I think he's playing pretty well. I think Sharon Govich needs to, again, find a way to finish. At this point, I think Tatar's been playing pretty well. I think Heischer needs to step it up some more. I mean, he had that one game where he was pretty much hurt, but he willed himself to get that game-tying goal, if you remember. And I mean, this is part of the process. It's still a young team. I'm not going to freak out. I know Ramona Rice in the Facebook Live, has been agreeing with me, but also at the same time, Ramona, it's just they're still 4-3-1. I don't think it's that bad.
No, the record's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, and it's not like Carolina has gone out to an astronomical lead.
I don't even know how
outside of them.
I
didn't even know that they were undefeated.
Yeah, I had them pegged to be the other way around, all defeated.
Yeah.
and got to give
Anderson
credit to Rod Brindamore.
Yeah, that whole team has just been killing it. I thought their goalie situation was going to be a problem, and I was wrong. And it still might be, but I think they've gone out to a big enough lead to where even if they have a few issues, I think they're going to make the playoffs. So that takes away one, and then the Rangers have had a good start. They failed yesterday, but they've had a better start than I hoped that they would have. Shesterkin has looked really good. And Washington, people want to bury Washington every year, and I don't get it. I'm not burying them anymore. I'm not burying them until they're buried. Until someone else buries them, I'm not burying them. You know what I mean? They got Samsonov, who's decent in net. Ovechkin still, and Ovechkin's not even having. Well, actually, he actually has been really good this season. Never mind. That was not the point I was trying to make. It's going to be hard. Philly hasn't looked like Carter Hart hasn't looked terrible, which is what you want if you're a Devils fan. You want him to look like he did last year. He doesn't look like that. Steve Mason even came in relief and won a game. So that's definitely not what you want. Columbus has looked good. We lost to them, even though we dominated. That's the worst one, Sam. Losing that Columbus game on Sunday, you can't lose that game. You can't. They had 3 shots in the third period and they tied the game. You can't lose that game. And I know a lot of people want to rag on. There was a lot of people messed up on that play. Ty Smith, terrible pass. Nico Hischier, I would like him to corral it a little bit better. Pavel Zacha, terrible coverage on the way back, and Scott Wedgwood has to make that save. You know, it was just a cavalcade of errors there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you're going to have those games. It's just when the season is going this way, where you're losing players and injuries are happening and you're hanging on by a thread, those are the games you can't lose. It should be 5. What is it? What should it be? 5-3-1, 5-2, 5-3-1. Yeah, they should be 5-3, or no, they should be 5-3-0. So they should be. That extra point will mean a lot, Sam. It's probably going to matter.
Well,
especially
the game
when you're
against
losing
Calgary,
it to divisional teams.
The game against Calgary and the game against the Capitals, okay, they happen. But the effort against the Ducks after the first 5 minutes, I mean, that was just pathetic. I mean, that was hard to watch. It was hard to listen.
Maybe it was past everybody's bedtime.
You know what I think it is? I think it had something to do with ESPN Plus. The team just doesn't. First time under ESPN Plus. They need some time.
They're facing a lot of pressure. They're like, we want our ESPN overlords to be happy with our performance, and they put too much pressure on themselves. But before we go, Sam, we are getting to the end. I do want to make mention. I know you sent the podcast earlier today of Dancing Earl. That was just devastating news. Like that week, that news coming out this week, and it came out of. I mean, I don't know what his situation was. I know he was there earlier this season, but it came out of nowhere for me. I usually have my finger on the pulse, and the fan base usually tells me a lot of stuff, and I had no idea until I was told that it happened. So that's devastating. I'm really sorry for his family. I'm sorry for the fans. I'm sorry for us. You know, when we go to those games and he won't be there anymore. You know, I did write an article saying I hope the Devils do something to honor him. He's been there. I didn't realize he was there since the beginning, since 2007.
Yep.
I knew he's been there for more than 10 years, but I didn't realize he was there from day one. So you gotta show that sports is more than the players and the coaches. Like, show that sports is an experience, and Dancing Earl was just such a huge part of that experience, and he was such a positive experience. Like, I've had people who used to work for the team. I had one person, former players have talked about Dancing Earl. So,
yeah,
he deserves something. Well, even if, you don't have to go out of your way, but you should announce it at the game. Like, absolutely, and let everybody cheer for him. You should give him something.
Section 2, where he used to stand, I think it was Section 2. On Tuesday's game against the Panthers, that's where he stood. That's where he stood. The friendliest guy. That's where you saw Dancing Earl. And then when the cameras focused on him, I said this a few times already. I don't mind saying it again. When they said Devils fans, hockey, and Newark don't mix and it will never work out, that's where Dancing Earl comes in. Because
that's exactly who you wanted to come in.
Yeah.
He's like the embodiment of what they wanted.
And it was all love. It was all love with Dancing Earl. He loved us and we loved him. It didn't matter. We had him on the podcast. He was just a nice guy. I was nervous because, how is this going to go? All we know is him as Dancing Earl, but there's a human being behind that name. Didn't know that, he played football and tried to play semi-professional football, but I think he tore his Achilles heel, according to when we interviewed him, Beer Baron and Scotty, loves music. We talked about it, all that. But, he was just always a positive person. And he had his head on right, good head on his shoulders. And John says, unique people help make being a fan of a team worth following. No other team has an Earl. Rest in peace. He's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct, John. You hit it right on the head. Dancing Earl will be missed. Go ahead.
It's just funny because I think of it and it's like, I could be replaced. Somebody else could write the blog, and somebody else could run the podcast, and a lot of the personalities that are probably prevalent in the Devils fan base right now, a lot of them probably could be replaced. I don't know how we're moving forward without Dancing Earl. It just feels it's going to feel empty.
Yeah.
If I stop writing the blog, nothing's going to feel empty. If a lot of these personalities, a lot of and even like, I don't mean to sound mean, but a lot of the people work for the Devils. If they get replaced with other people work for the Devils, it's going to be business as usual. That's how journalism works. That's how these things work.
Yep.
But losing a personality like Earl, like Dancing Earl, like, I don't know what the Devils can do to replicate that. I don't want to say replace. It's not a good word. To replicate what he brought to the arena on a nightly basis. The energy that he brought in the bad times is just phenomenal.
I'll tell you what the Devils can do. Do nothing but honor him. And what I like to see, again, I don't believe in manufactured fandom. It just Dancing Earl just happened. He wasn't the first usher they put the cameras on. It was year 2, year 3 before they started doing that, according to him. And you know how we can honor Dancing Earl? Like I said, it was all love with Dancing Earl. And I think that's how we should conduct ourselves at the arena. And also, maybe we should have a Dancing Earl, tribute. And then we're all dancing, at some point in the game. So maybe a new tradition can come out of it. But I don't believe in the manufactured stuff. But you know what? If we could bring it, I bet you if we were allowed to, we'd bring flowers and leave it at section 2. For Earl. I mean, it goes deep with the fan base.
I hope the Devils are thinking about it, because it's like, people are going to want to do something, and if it's unregulated, it's going to just it's going to be like people just bringing flowers to section 2 or something, so.
You know what? If I go to the game, because obviously I'll be at Game Day Live, but if I go to the game, maybe I'll hold up a poster of Dancing Earl or something.
Yeah. Oh, you're not going.
That's what I hope to see.
You're not going to the game against the Panthers.
Well, no. The issue is, Nick, my new schedule, Game Day Live and Devils out. It's a lot of work. It's hard to get to the games. It is a lot of work, because I got to coordinate with Scotty out in LA. I got to coordinate with, I got to coordinate with Vinny out in Chicago. Also, I got to coordinate with you, because don't we have a big announcement tonight? A huge announcement, which we didn't really prepare for, but I told people there's a huge announcement tonight.
Which announcement are we talking about?
I don't know. November 20th.
Oh, you didn't tell me that everything was approved. So, you did. You told me it was. You just do the announcement.
All right.
Okay.
Those listening in, we have a big announcement, and we'll make it official on Friday. Okay, I'll make it official Friday, since we're a little unprepared, because I almost forgot about our big announcement. The podcast.
I'm gonna announce it. It's fine.
Yeah, You're not working that day, are you? Maybe I should ask that.
It's Friday night.
Yeah, is it Friday night? No, Saturday night. think it's Saturday night.
Oh yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah, or Sunday night. No, is it Sunday night, Friday night? I don't remember.
We'll figure it out.
November 30th. November 30th. No, 20th. November 20th. 2-0. Devils and Tampa. Nick, where do you live?
I live in Tampa.
Yeah, you live in Tampa.
Seminole Heights.
The podcast is on the road. And where are we going to do a live, game day live podcast, Nick?
Are we going to Thunder Alley?
Thunder Alley at outside of Amalie Arena. We got approved by the Tampa Bay Lightning that this podcast is going live on location before the Devils take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa for game day live.
It's good.
Isn't
You're going to
that
get me
big
for the
announcement?
pregame show. It's huge.
What's that?
We're doing big
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I'm going to see.
They
kind of
owed us one, though.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. So anybody that's Steve says insure the cameras. LOL. Yeah, remember 3 cameras breaking down on opening night. Hey, you know what? Maybe the Devils can use that as a lesson. Hey, we had three broken cameras opening night. Since then, the podcast has been doing pretty well. The replacement cameras stepped it up. Anyway, I'm just joking. All right. Eating some time. Actually, we're in overtime right now.
We are in overtime. Real quick, Dan Rice, he's got his PHF, Metropolitan Riveters preview coming out tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. You can read that. You can read that story. He goes in depth for those who don't know a ton about PHF hockey, and for those who don't know a ton about the Riveters, he goes through the players. He goes through how to watch, the price to watch. So definitely check that out. Women's hockey, or the PHF preview for the Metropolitan Riveters. That'll be on pucksandpitchforks.com, and you can go right now on pucksandpitchforks.com. I did that. The Survive in Advance article, how the Devils can survive the Dougie Hamilton and Jack Hughes injuries.
Yeah, the Metropolitan Riveters open up their season at Menon Arena in Morristown, New Jersey. Or is it Morris Plains? It doesn't matter. It's the same difference. Against the Connecticut Whale, I'm looking forward to my good friend of the podcast who was a Riveter and is now on the Connecticut Whale, Rebecca Moose Morse. Looking forward to seeing her in action, after they were doing that whole thing at Lake Placid last season. Things are starting to get back to normal. I love the NWHL, but now it's the PHF Federation. That's what the F stands for, Federation.
Yeah. It sounds like wrestling.
It sounds
I'm ready for.
This is ironclad hockey, I'll tell you.
I need some rock bottoms and some stone cold stunners when I go to the game.
It's ironclad hockey, and I'm going to miss the NWHL, but PHF it is. Dan Rice, read his article, 6 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning, pucksandpitchforks.com. Nick,
you can read it after that. It's not going away.
Yeah. And then maybe my article will be up at 7 a.m. But Nick's got to edit it, so don't count on it. Anyway, thanks for everybody watching. Thanking Arda Ocal. Till next time, let's go Devils.